The main event of Dynasty. The Young Bucks are back. Everybody's talking about this.
So I'm not on Twitter anymore, and so you're gonna have to fill me in on what the sentiment is on social media in
Man,
terms
take
of
one guess. The funniest one
guessing
was
this Young Bucks no way, right?
yeah, it's generally speaking, it's like, what the hell was this shit? Number one, a lot of this was shocking to me. How many people thought Swerve was gonna win?
Oh, yeah.
That was shocking to me.
Yeah.
Because it's like they're setting up Hangman. This is what surprised me about the thing was they're setting up Hangman to cost Swerve the title. Whether that is going to be because he's made it his goal or because he's going to try to help Swerve and accidentally cause that.
Yeah.
Instead, they're setting up Swerve and Hangman versus the Young Bucks because the Young Bucks are back and they directly cost Swerve the title by giving him a BTE trigger.
Yeah. And so, we'll have that tag match probably all in. Yeah.
And so I was really, because I think the thing that might have put people over was there was a report that they were bringing Swerve's family in. And I'm like, if there's one thing that you want to do to kind of try to trick people into thinking he's going to win is bring his family in. Because then it'll get out and then people are like, oh, they're bringing his family in.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. Look, man, Darby's probably going to cut a promo on Everest.
Entirely possible, yeah.
And you can't beat that.
Well, hold on. You mean he's going to cut a promo while on Mount Everest? He's not going to cut a promo on Mount Everest.
He should cut a promo on Everest because he's about to conquer it.
Yeah.
But I feel like when he's on Everest, he's going to cut a promo on Mox.
Yeah.
And that's going to be the biggest pop ever. Is that All In? If it's going to be All In, he comes back and he beats Mox. Yeah. After conquering Everest.
Yeah, Darby's the wild card in the Owen tournament. He's going to win it. He's going to probably face Ospreay in the finals because they had that interaction before Darby left. Like, I understand people are kind of over the Young Bucks. I am too. To a degree. But,
count us in on that
but,
one.
if I try to look at this from a glass half full perspective, Again, I'm sick. I got the brain fog going here from being under the weather. I don't remember the exact details, but there were interactions between the Young Bucks and Swerve before the Young Bucks left.
Yeah.
Swerve was on Team AEW in Blood and Guts last year, opposite the New Elite.
Yeah.
So it's not like it's completely out of nowhere the Young Bucks would show up and cost Swerve the match.
Yeah.
There is something there. The exact nature of the details, again, I don't remember. And if the idea is their appearance is going to motivate a change in Swerve and Hangman's relationship, where now they have to work together, there could be some really interesting stuff there. And if it's a situation where Swerve and Hangman are feuding with the Young Bucks, that's going to be a high-profile story. In the end, Swerve and Hangman are going over. That's good for Swerve and Hangman. Like, if the idea is the Young Bucks are going to be around and they can tell interesting stories with them, and they can help get the future of AEW over. All right. If they're there to be in a prominent position and get themselves over, then that's another thing entirely.
So there are two sort of reactions or takes or whatever that stood out to me the most. One was, it's a Twitch streamer. She does a lot of reaction stuff, Mini Portable. I think it's Minerva's her name. And she did like a stream, the reaction thing. And she was just hella laughing. She was like, you guys stayed up for a 5-hour pay-per-view. You have to go into work tired tomorrow for that ending. She was just laughing her ass off. The other one I thought was like a more serious one, and actually is kind of a good point. And honestly, I'm sorry, I forget. I think I just saw it on Blue Sky today. But somebody said something along the lines of, the one thing that AEW really has going for it, in terms of numbers that really have been kind of unmovable, it's their pay-per-view success. You can talk all day long about what they're doing streaming on Max and their TV ratings, which seem to have stabilized. And I have no idea. And I honestly don't give a shit. The only number they should care about is how much money they're making off of that.
And they've always been good for at least 100,000 pay-per-view buys.
Yeah, but the pay-per-view buys, those are always really, really, really good. And they need to be careful because there's been a couple of those pay-per-views now where the ending kind of clouds the general feel, the general vibes on the pay-per-view. And if that continues, then you might see a lasting impact on that metric, which is an incredibly successful one. Whether or not, that actually happens, I don't know. I suspect that if, Darby beats him at All In, you're going to get a great reaction. You're going to get a great reaction. Number one, because this whole stupid thing's going to be done with, the Death Riders thing. And number two, because I think it's a moment that AEW fans will pop huge for.
Yeah. So we talked about the Young Bucks' role in the main event in terms of cost and swerve the match. And, there's been at least 2 straight pay-per-views now where, while the body of the show itself, good. Main event, maybe not as good as the rest of the show. I thought the main event last night was better than the one at Revolution. That being said, it was a Mox match.
Yeah.
And not in the sense that it's a no-holds-barred street fight, hardcore type thing. It was a Mox match in that it was wrestled at a very deliberate pace. Mox seemingly wanted to show off all his MMA moves that he's learned.
Yeah.
And the way the match was set up, at least for me, really dampened any real drama I thought that could have been there in terms of Swerve maybe pulling out a win. Because it seemed like every time Swerve would get some moves off and get the advantage, Mox always had an answer for it. And by the time we got to Swerve having a chance to maybe get the win, it was right into the overbooked stuff.
So I'll be honest with you, man. Understanding now, because it's been years, that for a Mox match, you just got to get through the Mox stuff,
I know, but when it's 30 minutes of it, dude, after a 4-hour pay-per-view.
I mean, I paused to go watch Stranger Things with Bama so let me just get this out of the way. Never have I felt more justified in having family obligations during a pay-per-view. I honestly think our review would have been misery last night. And one of the reasons why we started having family obligations, look, it's just because these things are so long. And if I do a review on it after having to sort of be on and alert and engaging during a 5-hour, 4.5-hour pay-per-view, it's just difficult to get through that. Yeah. Look, man, we make no bones about it. We are old. And the reaction
stream, for me,
stream,
last night I was not feeling well.
The reaction stream life is not for the old. And so,
not for 4.5-hour shows. No.
When it's WWE and they give you a 3-hour show, and then you can take a pause for 30 minutes between matches and engage, it's fine. It's fine.
It works. Yeah.
AEW is a different beast, and I do honestly think that I would rather approach it, watch the matches the way I want to watch them, and it'll give me a better sense of the show. AEW pay-per-views at this point are kind of like, for me, all right, I got till Monday morning to watch the whole thing. Let me watch whatever I feel comfortable watching. I can come back to it later on in the day. I watched the main event live. That's what I did last night. I took some time off between the Cole match and the first half of the international match. But so watching it live all in one chunk for me personally is too much. It's just too much these days. That's my own personal thing. And so I thought overall the pay-per-view featured a lot of really good wrestling that I think was probably best digested, not all in sequence, all in one thing.
But that's what I did. I digested it all in sequence. Because sometimes, not to say you couldn't glean it from watching it in pieces, there is the story arc of the show itself. Mm-hmm. And there's something to be said for the communal experience of watching it live as it happened. But I totally get your perspective of watching it in chunks when it's, because I do that for movies sometimes.
Yeah, sure.
The Snyder cut of Justice League. There's no way I could watch it with the 4+ hours, however long that was in one sitting. Couldn't do it.
It's funny you mentioned communal experience because I think I remember I did a watch along stream for that when it came out, and I was happy to do it. I really enjoyed that. But getting back to the main event, I think they really could have stuck the land. Like, I get what they're trying to do because they've decided Young Bucks versus Hangman and Swerve is the way they're going to go for All In. Okay. Then this kind of makes sense because you want to get to that match.
Yeah.
I wonder. But the bottom line is to stick the landing on this match, I think concentrating on Swerve and Hangman exclusively would have been the best way to go because the Young Bucks, they've been gone for 6 months. You mentioned they had some interactions with Swerve prior to them leaving. Absolutely right. I barely remember that. And so this Hangman Swerve stuff is so good.
Yeah.
And it's so fresh. And it's so vital that all of a sudden bringing these guys back in, it's like, okay, it just feels like you're throwing something in there that doesn't. The best payoffs are when the story that you've told to get to this point, you're rewarded for having paid attention.
Mm-hmm.
Young Buck's been gone forever. Throwing them in there, you could have thrown anything in there. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, you're just throwing the Young Bucks in there to get to this match. Hangman and Swerve have this dynamic now where you don't know what Hangman's going to do.
Yeah.
And that was the best part of last night's match.
Absolutely.
Is when he was ready for the buckshot and he looks over at Mox. He's like, what do I do? What do I do?
I know. I like the ambiguity of it.
Yes.
Because Page has an extensive history with Mox too. Mox knocked him out of action for a long time with a concussion back when they had, leading up to their Texas death match, they had their own. Yeah, I thought that was great that it wasn't so much, oh, he's going to go out there and cost Swerve. Oh, he's going to go out there and help Swerve and accidentally cost him or anything like that. He was literally out there on the apron looking for a buckshot, but conflicted about who to give it to.
And if they had stayed, I honestly think that this would not have been. You saw how people reacted to that one little Hangman Swerve backstage segment. If they had stuck with Hangman, for whatever reason, getting involved in the match and Swerve still loses, and it's not necessarily, I mean, you could do the thing where the Death Riders cost Swerve the match. Hangman tries to help, but even in defeat, they find themselves on the same page. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you stick with the story that you've been telling. And if you can find a satisfying angle to take with that, even if Swerve loses, I think you don't get this reaction. I don't think the reaction was necessarily, oh, Swerve lost. It was, God, we had to look at Matt Jackson's face now. It was like, where they just came out of nowhere. Like, how does this make sense?
Well, even I think that's more specific to the general Young Bucks fatigue, I think, that exists amongst a portion of the wrestling fandom. I think how they were utilized before they left wasn't the best. There was some promise there with the new elite stuff, and it kind of just went nowhere. I think that plays into it just as much as anything, because I don't know, like say FTR comes, I'm just throwing a name out there.
Sure. Yeah.
FTR comes out at the end to cost Swerve the match. That's even more out of left field than the Young Bucks, because as far as I recall, there's been basically no interaction between Swerve and FTR. And I think that would have been even a more of a head scratcher. But at the same time, especially now the FTR heels, I don't think people would have been quite as, oh, what the hell is this? Because early in the show, FTR actually did something kind of cool, And it's been a while since the Young Bucks have been involved in anything that feels vital and interesting and kind of cool.
So this is one of those things where I agree with you in that it's not 1,000% left field, but it's kind of left field. You know what I mean? It's not FTR.
Oh, you have to think about it. You have to think about the
you got to
three
be
or
like,
four backstage
okay,
segments.
Wait a second.
And the blood and guts match. I know.
So like the Young Bucks were like shredding paperwork and they were freaked out about the Death Riders, and now they're helping the Death Riders beat Swerve. Okay, so what's going to happen here? It's not without.
I just had an idea, Steve.
Oh no, what?
Maybe the higher power, if you will, that Excalibur alluded to that one time wasn't Shane McMahon. Maybe it was Matt and Nick the entire time.
Yeah, but then they shred a bunch of paperwork, act freaked out, and then leave?
Evidence.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm not serious on this sarcasm.
I know, but here's the thing: you're not serious as sarcasm, but it's like you have to consider that as a
I
possibility.
know, I know. But nothing about what happened after the Young Bucks attacked Swerve led me to believe that was the case because
Yeah,
they left.
they
It
didn't
wasn't
like.
like they
Yeah, they didn't like
celebrated with Death
celebrate
Riders.
with Mox. So I don't know, man. There's going to be some mental gymnastics that they do in some promo, and it's probably not even going to really illustrate things. So yeah, I agree with you in that it's not super out of left field. There was interaction, but the thing is, like 6 months ago, the last time the Young Bucks were here and this Death Riders thing started was long before AEW started to build up some much needed goodwill amongst the fan base. Like their rating, their viewership seemingly has stabilized, and they've got. I like a lot of what they do on a week to week basis. They've signed some good names. They're in a positive direction. I know people don't like the Death Rider stuff, but they've even de-emphasized that to a degree. So yeah, to bring this back, to bring the Young Bucks in on this is sort of a reminder of like the wrong direction, in my opinion. And I appreciate your glass half full approach in terms of if you can use the Young Bucks to enhance the Swerve Hangman story, then that's gonna be a good thing.
Yeah.
Remains to be seen. And we'll see. We'll see.